when you speak about reincarnation, life after death, near-death experiences, people roll their eyes, say there's no proof. But this lady who I'm speaking to today, she's written books about it. She's really researched it. She's taken testimony from 2,500 people. She's an international keynote speaker, chaplain, and researcher. Let's hear from Lynn Russell. Today on the show, we have Lynn Russell, who is the author of The Wonder of You, What the Near-Death Experience Tells You About Yourself. It's a wonderfully uplifting book on death. By looking at thousands of NDEs, near-death experiences, Lynn has gleaned insights into our human existence that can help us live more happily and fully now. Organized into thematic chapters such as purpose, choices, time, the light, love, oneness, healing, illusions, Lynn illustrates what those who have gone through NDAs have learned about those areas of human life and curiosity. After reading her book, the end result is a feeling of profound hopefulness and meaningfulness in this human life we live, and many reasons not to fear the end of our lives when they do come. Hello, and welcome to the show, Lynn.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's
Love
my
to
pleasure.
Be here.
It's my pleasure. No, I'm really delighted because, you're really an expert in near-death experiences, or you don't like to call them near-death experiences, do you?
Well, I don't like calling them near. It's the word near that puts a question mark about whether they are real or not, or whether they were just a mental thing that happened. And so I don't like to use the word near. I just call them death experiences.
Okay, well, that's understandable. So,
Sure.
So you spent a lot of time, you had a job. Your job was to research these for Dr. Long from the...
Yeah.
Could you tell us a bit about that?
Well, I actually was researching a book that I wanted to write, and on a completely different novel. And but I had my lady in the novel. I had her doing things that I'm not sure she really could do, and so I decided that I would check out to see if people who, and it was to do with astral projection. So if people who had astral projection could do the things that I had my person doing. And it turned out that I never did find the answer, by the way.
Okay.
But I was led to go, I went online and I was led to go to NDERF, Near Death Experience Research Foundation. And they were supposed to have stuff on OBEs or out-of-body experiences, but I got caught up in the death experiences, and I was fascinated, and so I just went that direction. I never did find my answer.
And the doctor offers you a job. He said, "Come and." How did that work out? How did you get this job? I mean, it sounds like.
Well, I was on the site for quite a while, and they had a chat line that they don't have anymore, but they used to have a chat line, and it was very active. And so I became part of the chat line. And during that time, that was when Dr. Long asked for someone to volunteer to do research. And I had just recently retired. So I said, me.
Okay.
And so I volunteered, and I love it. I loved it. I learned so much.
So how many people have you documented that have had death experiences?
2,500 approximately.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg, no?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's thousands and actually millions just in the United States alone. You know,
yeah, every guest I've had on this podcast so far seems to have had one. So I don't know.
Yes.
Have you had one yourself?
Well, I had a teeny one. I don't even consider.
Okay, no, go on.
But it wasn't. There was nothing much about it. I was very, very ill, and I was in bed, and I was running a very high fever, and one minute I was in bed, and the next minute I was in a tunnel, and there was this guide beside me, and I was confused. I knew I died. That part I knew, but I didn't know what was this all about and why a tunnel or no answers to anything. But the guy didn't say a word. He just sort of smiled and laughed, and he was dressed like a priest, which sort of threw it because I'm not Catholic. So what's a priest doing? Mind you, I'd studied all the religions of the world up until that time. So, that fit. Anyway, so we are both going up and we hear this big voice, and it was like a booming voice that came down and said, "Send her back, it's not her time." And the guide said, "But she died." And the voice came back and said, "She has much left to do, take her back." And that was
well,
what happened.
And that's a small one. So give
that's a tiny one.
Well, give really me
minuscule.
Well, give me let's go up the scale then. Give me another example, a little more of what from one of these.
Well, the most common ones are ones that the person or the soul will go through the tunnel and get to the other end.
Okay.
And enter into light, or sometimes they go into the light, but sometimes they go to a place and it's like a garden or a very nice place somewhere. So that's what they do. They also have quite long experiences, meet the ones that have passed before them and meet their loved ones and hug and kiss them and the great retreat. They get quite a lot of learning. Any question they ask is immediately answered, not just the question, but anything that impinges upon it, so that they get a lot of information. And
because time is different, no, on the astral time. It's not you could have been away for a few minutes here, but it feels like a lot longer.
There is no time. There's no time. People who have been in a death experience sometimes are gone for 15 minutes and they feel like they've been gone for seconds. And other people have been gone for long time and they've had a very short experience. Or other people have huge experiences and come back and they've only been gone a few minutes.
Wow.
So time has no relative. Time is a physical thing. For us here in this life.
I have trouble understanding that, but yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah. Okay.
I know we do because we relate so much to time in our lives.
I know Okay, so what was some of the let's go into some of these experiences then. So what kind of, maybe you could tell me some more of people experiences.
Sure. Well, there, I don't have notes with me, but I hope I don't forget things.
Sure.
Some people, that was one of the things that happened. People would go to a beautiful garden, and it would be beautiful, just magnificent. It was always more beautiful than anything they've ever seen before. Some people went to places where there were buildings, and they were always made of things like crystal and ivory, or some very beautiful element, and they were always like edifices, like castles, or huge mansion kind of places. And so and some of them entered into these places and were taught lessons while they were there, and some people didn't go into them, but were also taught lessons because the lessons come anyway. There are a number of things that happen for just about everyone who has a death experience. And that would be, first of all, they have a feeling of being one with everything, that no matter what they see or are aware of, they are connected and one with it. They are that thing, and that thing is them. There's no separation between them. So that's pretty cool. Another, as I said, is the time. Another one is that they can travel anywhere through thought, and it's instant. It's like they just think of where they want to be, and they're there. And most people have what's called a life review, And the light review is going over all of the things that they did in this existence, in this life. And they look at, and they don't look at what job they did or how much money they had. None of those things matter at all. Material things are nothing. What is significant is the love and caring for each other. That's the most important thing on the top of the list. And when they have their death review, their life review, I should say, they experience how they were with other people. And so if they did nice things, then they felt really wonderful inside and beautiful. And if they did not so nice things, then they would feel very sad and upset with themselves. But they were always told that it was just a learning experience and not to beat up on themselves. That it's okay, it's just a learning experience, and it's time, you can move on from there.
So in the end, we judge ourselves. We are the judge.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But one of the things that I did learn, and this gets pretty deep into it, and it's a little hard for everyone, but people are waking up a lot these days, so it's cool, is that the oneness, and that we are all one, that not just alike or not just equal. I mean, we are one. I am you and you are me, whoever that me and you is. And that was very, very significant. That's a very important point.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah, I can accept that on a superficial level, but, I don't have without an experience as profound as you or these other people. And do some people go to dark places, or is it all?
Some people do. And one of the things that I need to express here is that because we are one, we are also one with the source. And that means that we are creators. And we are creating the existence that we now live here in this physical body. And we create the existence that our death experience and how that is. We take an active role in our death experience and what we experience. And we experience what we think we should or what we think death is about. Okay. And I say that with question mark, because is that the noise from the window bothering?
I just heard it once, but...
Okay. Yeah, because there's traffic out there. So anyway, there's... I've forgotten where I was.
So we take an active role in our with our mind and our cravings. We take an active role
in creating all that we experience, whether it's here or there.
We do it here, but we don't really appreciate it, do we? We don't understand that we create our lives. It's kind of...
No, and until we realize that we are soul and spirit and a part of the oneness, and then we start to realize it. That's when we go, aha. So, for example, people will see themselves in a body, but they left their body back there, They didn't bring their body with them, but they continued to see themselves as physical. And when they realize that they aren't physical, that they are sparks of energy, and that they are part of this huge, monstrous light that they see, and that they are actually the light, and they enter into the light and have wonderful experiences. I can tell you a little bit about that. When they get into this light, then they realize that they are the creators, that they create. And that's a very important point because it gives us more control over who we are, where we are, our lives, and how we're going to create this world.
Because I guess on the physical, we know that everything existed at one time in somebody's mind before they made this computer, before they made this microphone. It was in someone's mind. And it takes longer to manifest on the physical. But so on the astral, it's very much faster. Is it? You can build a castle with your mind. You make your own body. And you exist in other people's imagination as well.
Yes, and as you've mentioned, Jeff, we don't realize it. We just, because we have amnesia, we just continue to create. And we think this is what It is, you know, from the time we were born until now, we think this is it, but we learn differently after death.
So the people that are more materialistic, that are more attracted to the activities in this physical, they will have a more physical, heavier experience when they pass
Well,
on.
yes, they might. For example, so, there have been times when, like, the garden is a physical place, or they might go to the mountains or to some other beautiful place. They might, and you asked me about negative experiences, and that is also some place that we create for ourselves because that's what we think is supposed to be. You know, people who have been taught that they are bad or evil or non-deserving. And there's been some experiences that I've read that I felt so sad for them because they wouldn't allow themselves to go to the light because they didn't think they were worthy. So that to me is very sad because that's their home. That's home.
But I guess it is the same here. You know, we can make a beautiful life for ourselves, or we can really wallow in it. So
yeah.
So people must come back very changed after these experiences.
Yes, they do. Yes, they very much do. They come back, and actually, I think it's a life review that does it because they realize that material things are really irrelevant. They're just there to help us have a decent life, or the physical body to continue and live. And so that's very important to know. And so they become much more kind and supportive and want to help in the world. They want to do whatever they can to help and make life better. And that, I think they're changing the world because the world has changed drastically. And we're talking repeatedly of how the world is going to be a different place soon. And it is. Yeah, it's true. And it's happening. We're seeing it. And I think it's partly to do with these people who have come back from death experiences and are telling us stories that change our way of seeing things.
No, definitely. Wow, that's so. Some people come back. Do they come back with abilities or a higher IQ?
Oh, yes, almost everybody who. Thank you for those questions because I forget this. Everybody comes back. Almost everybody comes back with psychic, what we call psychic abilities. I think psychic abilities are actually very, very normal things that happen for people, but they do come back, and sometimes they see other souls or dead souls, spirits, or sometimes they will know things ahead of time. Sometimes they can read other people's futures, those kind of things. But I think they're normal and natural because we are one, and because the oneness means that, of course, I would know. At some level, I'm going to know information about that other party or about the world because I'm part of the creation of it.
So it's kind of these veils we put over ourselves, and you can burn through a lot of them with this experience. Fantastic.
It's exciting. I find it very exciting.
No.
I just think it's so wonderful because it gives us, as I said, more control in our lives and helps us to understand that we can do something to make it better. And we can take a role in making this world a better place.
No, well, it's wonderful. You've really been an example of that with the work you've done with Dr. Long, because what I always find funny is that, you've done a lot of research, and you've taken a lot of witnesses, basically. And if you go to court and you want to prove your case, you pull up a witness, and studies like you who have thousands of witnesses, they say, but there isn't any proof, but a witness is a proof. It's just that people, you shouldn't have to have a near-death experience to that loving and caring for everyone around you should be your number one priority. You shouldn't have to be hit by a car for that to
Yeah.
happen.
What a shame. But I understand it. Because, as I said, we are born with amnesia.
Yeah.
And then it's up to us, but we are creators. We are natural, normal creators, and we just continue to create. And so whether we create here, or we create there, or wherever, it's still our creations.
So why don't people remember their past lives?
Well, because they wouldn't be able to exist and function effectively in this existence if we knew that, if we remembered, well, children who remember reincarnation and they'll remember a past life they've had have a very hard time adjusting to this life.
I reckon,
until they get amnesia, which is around 7. Around 7, they start to forget about their other life and they start bonding more into this life. But up until that time, they have a very hard time accepting that this is their life now.
Yeah, it must be so
That's
difficult.
one of the things. Yeah, and the other thing is that, can you imagine, there's and some people who have had death experiences have a very hard time adjusting to being back, and they don't want to be here, literally do not want to be here. One lady, I was giving a talk, and after the talk, she came up to me and said, I'm just marking time because I just don't want to be here. I want to be on this other side. But she knew that she couldn't kill herself to do it. So that's important, that was very important.
So what happens with the suicides? Do they have a hard time?
Well, suicides have, I think the bottom line of suicide is that we don't get rid of the problem that we're trying to get rid of. It's there and we have to work with it. So for example, and it doesn't matter what the issue is, before we come into this existence, we develop a lifetime that we choose, this lifetime that we
Our higher self chooses.
Yes. Well, it isn't our higher self because that same higher self is inside this body, operating this body. So it's still inside here. It isn't out there somewhere, Like you
It's just a very quiet voice. It's just a very...
Yes. And so you are soul. All right, so what was I talking about? I'm sorry. I lose my train of thought.
No worries. Well, I got so into it too. I've forgotten as well. Let's rewind. No, you said the memory of past lives, and then we have to be wiped clean to come into this existence, and we decide where we create all our existence. We choose our parents.
Yeah, we do. We're creators here, there, everywhere. And I don't. I'm sorry, folks. I've lost my train of thought, but. The life that we have way more control in the life that we live than we ever recognized or realized, because we are creators, and it is our choices and our thoughts. So I know where I was. I was talking about reincarnation, and so if we remembered where we came from, it would be very painful to be here. Because this is separated from our home, from our source, from our reality, and it's also we're forced into doing things that are difficult for the soul, like getting up in the morning. Or what I mean is living every day, doing everyday functions. At the spirit level, that nothing is done, and we can create and go blink, and there it is, and actually that does happen. But it's so if we could remember our past lives, this would be or our life that we came from, the source. It would be very painful to be here.
Okay. And also, if you remembered your life before, I mean, imagine you'd have lawyers hanging around the hospitals to try and get to help kids get their property back, remember
Yeah.
wearing when, and you'd have children trying to kiss old people because they were, you remember me, darling?
Yes, yes,
It
yes,
would be a disaster. We couldn't function in this.
yes, that's right. That's right. The other thing is that I want to talk about the people we meet on the other side. We've created those images. Sorry, we've created the images that we see of those other loved ones that have passed before us because we so want to see them. But in reality, they are a part of the light. They're in the light.
So the memory wipe doesn't happen after this death. You still go to the astral and you live. You're reincarnated there,
Yeah.
and then after that, you come back here and you can't remember those two experiences. But when you're on the astral, you can remember. After this death, you still remember your loved ones.
Yes, when we're at the astral or the spiritual level, we remember all of the lives that we've ever had, and they're very clear to us, but they aren't to us. It's like, oh yeah, I remember we did that, and that's about it. And we remember more the lessons that we gained from that living or that life.
So why do we have to keep coming back to this limiting realm? This very hard.
For a wide variety of reasons. The most important is because just imagine how people are having a hard time isolating now in this physical life. We are having this COVID and we have to isolate, and we're having a very hard time isolating and staying isolated. and can you imagine living in absolute nothingness? I mean, like, it would be almost torturous, especially if you were a spirit that was highly intelligent and full of love. It would be painful to be nothingness around us.
You mean when they're here? When we're here, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the source, what I call the source, or isness, sorry, I think that it is so painful for the source to live in a complete nothingness that creation has to be. And the source creates because it has to. Okay?
Okay.
And so we are here to give back to the source what it would be like to be a human.
Okay.
What life would be like in a separate physical existence.
Okay.
That's what we're doing. And everything we do is fed back to the source because there's like a direct broadcast going back and forth between us and the source.
I've heard it said, that we're on a journey back to the source to go back as conscious gods.
Well, that's the other part. It could be that and I don't know the answer to this one, and I'm glad I don't, because I don't want to know everything. But some surprises. That when we when we leave the source, do we leave as a brand new soul that has to work our way back to the source, or do we leave? And because when we die, everything is forgotten. We're completely forgiven or loved unconditionally, and it really doesn't matter. So I'm a little bit confused about whether we grow back to the source, and I sort of think we do, because that would be the direction I would lean, because I know that people who have had death experiences in return don't have any idea of the stuff I'm talking about. They just say, oh, that was nice, I saw my family, and or I saw this beautiful place, and that's it. And they may know things like they can see 360 degrees, or that they can travel by thought and things like that. But
I think it's when you pass over, you're not made into a saint, or you don't have your intelligence increased by this. If you're a schmuck here, you're going to be a schmuck over there. You know.
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, you're way smarter there, hugely. It's like vastly smarter there than we are here. I mean, because we are source, and because we are source, we become back. We're back to being, and we can create, like I said before. And so, for example, one man was over there. I'll tell you two experiences. One man was over there, and he was having an experience. I think I might have this in my book. And the guides were trying to talk to him about the fact that he was a creator, mm-hmm. and that he could create. And so they said to him, think of anything you want, anything. Right. And he thought of his mother's chocolate cake. Mm-hmm. And there it was. He had his mother's chocolate cake in his hand, and he actually ate it. And then he made a comment saying, and it was heavenly.
Yeah, I guess you can only go to the highest level of your imagination. Your idea of heaven, if you're a pretty shabby guy, you can't build a crystal castle. But
the highest level of our development.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also, I think another thing to appreciate is like the guides. They are also going to reincarnate, and they're also in a cycle of everyone serving everyone else. Even the voice you heard in the tunnel is not, you wouldn't say it's the voice of God, but it's the voice of somebody working there. It's somebody whose job it is.
It might be because I'm one with God, or the course, or the source, I should say, or whatever, so maybe, who knows?
Okay.
It's all just a big question mark. Another one that I particularly like is a woman called Nancy Dennison. Mm-hmm. And Nancy had, I think she was in the tunnel, and she was traveling, and she realized, I'm making this up. I'm creating this myself. And so then she started creating all kinds of different places that she could be, and they were there. She would be there instantly, and they were as real as this is for her. Mm-hmm. So that tells you that back to that our being creative. Mm-hmm. We are the creators.
You have to have, because I've spoken to some people who do astral projection, and they can do it now from the physical, so they can lie down and they can concentrate and they can leave their body and they can go to the astral. But they say that when you start to do it, it's if you think drifts and you think of your school, you're there in a second, and it's a blur as the light flashes and you're suddenly there. And then some thought pops into you about your mother's childhood home, and you go there. And you can be flipping around with like a crazy man, like a pinball, because you've got to have control of the mind to stay in one place and to build. Yeah. It takes time to build a crystal castle.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right, actually. So I think that you might be right, and other people might be right, that we evolve back to the source.
The way I've heard it from because I've been studying metaphysics for a year now, so I'm quite new to it. I'm not nowhere near, but I've heard that so the spirit is the divine spark of God, and the spirit constructs the soul, which is physical. It's just in a different, not as in these molecular structures. And the spirit contracts. There's a cosmic constitution that creates these various bodies, and the physical, the astral, the mental, the etheric, and we're going through these cycles of living on this planet. And when we can raise Kundalini and we achieve enlightenment in the physical, then we can do, it goes enlightenment, cosmic consciousness, and then ascension. And then we can leave this, and then we go into interplanetary existence, and we go and live on the other planets.
Yeah, there's been a lot of things written on that. The Seth books and Michael, and it was Messages from Michael, and there's been quite a bit of channeled information about that.
Right. Because it's all these people who are channeling back to us are still, they're still in the reincarnatory cycle as well. So everyone's serving everyone else. These spirit guides are not.
Yeah.
And we're all.
And I think that the spirit guides are just have figured out above us. You know, like they know the answers one step above where we are, and so they can answer our questions. But to be honest, I'm not sure about that, because on the other side, the every question that we can ask is answered instantly, and that is like all knowledge. We gain all knowledge, and that's very important, because sorry, based on what we're just talking about, that we have all knowledge.
I think that's because the spirit guides and from what I've heard is the more evolved you are spiritually, the longer you spend on the realms. You could spend 2,000 years on the realms. You know, that's I think the people who, from other studies I've read about reincarnation, is the children who remember their death, their past lives, they come back very quickly, and they they had a traumatic death, and they often have like scars.
Not necessarily. Some that can be the shortest cycle of death and rebirth that I've read was 4 days.
Wow.
And that, I mean, the funeral hadn't even happened yet, and this baby is born. And but it's the longest I've heard is 50 years.
Really? Okay.
So it's huge, yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds of information out there, but there's a new book that's out that's called I Saw the Light and Came Here.
Mm-hmm.
And that book is also written by 2 PhDs, and they've done a very good job of researching it and making sure that it's quality information.
Okay. Because I've heard from studies as well that there's birthmarks. Some children have the birthmarks of injuries they suffer.
That's right. Yeah.
So, okay. Wow. So and also I also heard that you had some very profound experiences when you were.
Oh yes.
Could you tell me a bit about that?
Sure. Actually, I had 2. The first one was 3 different experiences that eventually fit together. But at the time that I was having them, they were spaced, they were days in between. And so I didn't realize that they were going to fit together. And I sort of wish I'd known I was going to have another one, where I would have taken more note. Anyway, so the first one was I was doing dishes, and I was washing the dishes and not thinking of anything. And in front of my sink is a window, and I'm looking into the backyard, and there's a tree there, and it's like an apple tree, a crab apple tree. And so I was looking at this tree, and all of a sudden I became the tree, and the tree became me. There was literally no difference between the tree and myself, which was beautiful. It was very fascinating. And then I became the bird in the tree, and every single kind of life form that I could think of. I was it. I was the tree, I was the grass, I was animals, I was flying, didn't matter what. I was that life form.
At the same time?
All at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful experience. And I have studied spirituality all my life from when I was a kid. And so I'd read about this, and I thought, I think it's called cosmic consciousness. And so I thought, oh, this is cool. When I was all finished, I thought, okay, this is really cool. And so that was it.
People go into the Amazon for months and taking all sorts of plant medicine to try and achieve what you achieved washing dishes.
Well, I was doing the dishes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so, but afterwards, I just thought, oh, this is cool. I've read about this, and I left it at that. The next experience, I'm in my, I'm washing the walls, fingerprints off the walls. And all of a sudden I'm not seeing the wall anymore. I'm seeing this. It was really strange. I was seeing an atom with the nuclei and the electrons going around. And then that expanded to our solar system with the planets going around, and that expanded to a galaxy, our galaxy, I guess. And it was going around a center. Now we know it's a black hole, but we didn't know it then. And it just kept going from micro to macro universe. And while I was seeing all of this, I was getting this message that this didn't just happen, that there is order and planning in all of this. And so that was cool to know that.
Cool. It's a bit of an understatement, I would have to say.
Yeah. And there was an intelligence behind it all. And then I got a definite message, and I did not like the message. The message said, your being, and this is verbatim, your being is intricately connected with the operation of the universe. I did not like that.
What's wrong with that? That's beautiful.
It terrified me. I thought, oh my God, I'm expected to do something really big.
You thought it was pressure.
I wasn't ready.
I think whoever gave you the message was disappointed with that reaction. It would be like delivering, you're the son of God. No.
So then the next one, because this is the third one, I'm in my living room and I picked up toys from around kids. And I feel this presence in the room with me. And I can't see anything. All I can see is my room. But I know there is somebody or something there, a live thing. Mm-hmm. But it's a beautiful thing because I feel like I'm wrapped around in this huge blanket of love. More love than I could ever imagine. And then I heard a voice again. This one was very loud and clear in my right ear, and it said, "This is where you came from, and this is where you will return." And it was like, and then that was it. It just faded away and it was gone. Oh, there was one other point in that. While I was feeling this beautiful, gorgeous light or being, I felt like I was connected to it, that there was like an umbilical cord connecting us, although I didn't see one, but I just felt like I was part of that whatever. And then that's when I heard this message saying that this is where it come from and this is where I was going to go back to. So that was cool. I before that, I was terrified of death, and I didn't know what death was going to be like. And so after that, it's sort of like, when? Wow. Okay, let's go. The other thing was I was walked 3 feet off the ground, I'm sure, for about 3 months or 4 months or something, and nothing bothered me. Absolutely nothing. The kids, the housework, nothing. And then I had, before that, I bit my fingernails down to the quick. And when I ran out of nail, I attacked the cuticles. Oh. And they were really gross. And one day after that experience, I looked down, I had nails. And I've had nails ever since. Uh-huh. I didn't even know I'd quit, but yeah. Anyway, so that is that experience. And then I had another 2 experiences that were again linked. And this was years later. So that was in 1973. In 1980, I was a family counselor. I was working at the Children's Hospital, and I was writing a report on a family that I was working with. And I heard this words, and I was alone in my office. Nobody was around. And I heard words the same in my ear. And it said, "I want to use you." I got so upset. No bloody way. What do you want me for? I'll decide if I will do it or not. I just felt like, why me? Why not a good born-again Christian? They know all that stuff. I didn't want the responsibility because I was sure I was going to screw up, right? And so then I but that's fine. I asked and asked and asked, and I didn't hear a thing back. I asked all kinds of psychics. They couldn't tell me what I was supposed to do. I couldn't get any answers. So now 4 years goes by, and it's 1984.
4 years.
4 years,
long
yes.
time, yeah.
And my daughter and I and a friend of hers were in the donut shop, and she's a teenager. They're both teenagers, and they're being teenagers, acting normal. And the voice comes back again in this middle of this donut shop. It says, "I still want to use you, you know." And that's verbatim. That's exactly the words. And so I had just been through a lot of problems and a lot of heavy stuff. My house burned down and, a whole bunch of bad things. And so I was just exhausted. I was white. And I just said, okay, fine, but I have nothing left to give. And the answer came back, "Don't worry, I'm preparing you now." And that was the end of it.
And what was it he wanted you to do?
I have no idea. I didn't hear another word after that. I'm doing what I'm doing. Maybe this is but it just doesn't, it seems illogical, because I think I would probably have already done what I'm doing. I mean, when I was being a family counselor, people would say, well, because you're going to help a family. And I'd say, well, I don't need a message to do what I'm doing. I would do it anyway. So I don't understand it. But anyway, there you go.
No, well, that's amazing. I mean, do you remember your past life?
I don't remember. No, I don't remember my past lives at all. No.
You have to wait to get that. Okay. Because it sounds like, because I was just, my guest last week was Michael Lennox, and he's a psychologist and a astrologist, and he did a lot of breath work in this life, a lot of Kundalini yoga to try and raise it, and he had a profound experience. And but maybe you put all the work in last time around, because these sound like spontaneous rises of Kundalini that could be just, you're getting the fruits of some work you've done in the past. But
I don't know. I just think maybe some people are more aware or more tuned in or whatever than others. Because when I was 13, I had an uncle who died, and he died about 60 miles away, and I saw him in our house in a bed, and I just thought, oh, what's Uncle Jim doing here? And he was there until the day, he was there for 3 days. And I just didn't talk to him because I didn't want to upset him, because he really looked sick. And he was in a hospital 60 miles away.
But it sounds like you've had a life of service. You've devoted your life to serving others.
So I think that's what I mean, is that some people are just more open or whatever.
Yeah, no.
And I don't mean openness like I don't want or not want, because I didn't bring any of that on by myself. It just happened,
No, but it's like, I think, even myself, I try too hard with these practices and these, and these things, but because that's also the way of our society, isn't it? If we apply the materialistic techniques to the spiritual techniques, so
Sure.
I have to have a step by step for everything, even when it comes to.
But you see, you're already there. You don't have to do anything. You already are there.
Oh, that's very beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Letting go. Yeah.
It's true. You are. You are source.
Yeah.
Experiencing this existence.
Yeah.
So you're already there. You never left the source. When people die, this is one of the things that I tell them, is that your source, you never really left the source. This is an illusion that source is creating to be able to create for itself and to have something to learn and grow from. But you never left. We never left. I never left. We're still there. And the people that we love and we've missed are right there, right beside us, because we are actually there. This is an illusion.
So what you're saying is we don't have spiritual experiences. We're just all the time having this physical experience, which is blocking out the.
Yeah. But I don't know. I can't say, well, you do this or you do that and you have a spiritual experience. I can't say that because I don't. Yeah.
No, but you're saying that we're putting up too much of a.
Yeah, I just think I was more open for some reason, or so my mind was willing to accept it or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe I'm in one of my last lifetimes. I don't think I need more, but maybe I'm finished. Or almost finished, so I'm more open.
Well, how old are you now? I don't mean to be very rude.
I don't mean age-wise. I meant lifetime-wise.
Lifetime-wise.
Thousands of lifetimes, and then I'm finished. I've done my progression. I'm very old soul, so I've done it all.
So you're not worried about dying at all?
Oh no. I'm 82.
Okay, yeah. 82. Yeah. No, that's wonderful. I mean. And your book. So let's just talk a bit more about your book, because you helped Dr. Long with his work, but you had so much left over. You had a book as well. So could you tell us a bit more about your book?
Well, I wrote the book after I did the research with Dr. Long, because I wasn't sure how. When I was already, as I say, I was already a spiritual seeker for all my life. So that when I went to do the research with the near-death experiences, it was like I learned so much spirituality and so much lessons, and the things that I didn't understand were going click, click, click and fitting together. And so I thought, and I never did completely finish writing that novel that I first wrote.
Who does?
Because this was too important. I needed to tell people about what I had learned. It was just so beautiful. And so that's what my book was about, was to teach people the beautiful lessons I had learned. But the other thing is that I also then the first book went very, very well. It had great reviews. The second book, so it's now just come out recently in February. It's out as a second edition, but I've added quite a lot to it. There's a lot of new information in the second edition, and the second edition is more science. I have quite a bit more science there than I have from the first one.
Okay. And it's available on Amazon or on your website?
No, there is something strange. I have to find out what's going on. Oh, I have a website. And on the website, I have 10 reviews that are anywhere from 3 to 5 stars. And overall, I'm getting 4.5, 5 is what I'm reaching for the second edition. But there's nothing on Amazon or Goodreads, and that's where I got the ones that I have, and they've been blanked out, so I don't know what's happened with those. I have to contact Goodreads and Amazon and find out what happened.
Well, I'm going to give you a 5-star. Don't worry about that.
Thank you.
No, I'm halfway through it, so it's fascinating read, and it's just you've put so much in. That the message that comes back is that to serve is.
The second edition, the first edition talks about what happens when you die. So it's this and this and this and that. The second edition talks about consciousness and how we are consciousness. And I talk about how science shows that we're consciousness. That's one of the big things that I am very excited about, is that science is, quantum physics is talking about us being consciousness.
Right.
And so, mind you, you say that to a scientist and they bite your face off, but that's the truth. It is. It is. And now I have a third book that I've just finished writing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I haven't put it out there yet, and it takes 1.5 years once the publishers pick it up. So it's going to be a while, 1.5 years, 2 years from now.
Can you give a sneak preview or?
Well, it's primarily science, and I have taken it step by step, and I'm very, very good at explaining complicated concepts and making them very understandable. So that's what I've done, is that I have I've taken quantum physics and broken it down, all the different things that they have found with particles and why and how and so on, and then and I proved it with tests and research that's being done. And the bottom line is, and then I take it to another round, another level, and then I bunch it all together to say, look, if this, and this, and this, and this, then the consequences has to be consciousness.
Because consciousness comes before everything, but the scientists say that, well, we can't prove it, and matter makes energy.
Yeah, but I am proving it. They're not going to accept it. I know that if a dyed-in-the-wool scientist read this, they would go, but it's all there. Anyway, I'll tell you what, I am now having people read it to give me feedback, to say, how is it flowing and does this fit with this? And so I'll send you a copy and you can read it for me, critique it for me.
Oof, well, that is an honor. Gosh, well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I try to, because it's scientism is another, it's become a religion now, science, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And if I was working as a scientist now, and they rubbish their own history, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, well, that's rubbish, and that, and everyone that works through science has always done that throughout history, So I don't understand why they can't look now and say that in 200 years you're going to be rubbished. So it's frustrating talking to, because people who rubbish reincarnation and things like that, they say,
when they disqualify it all,
with science, but there's no, you show me one scientific research paper that proves that that death is the end and you stop.
They don't even look that direction. As a matter of fact, when something proves it, then they run away from it. They say no.
But has there ever been a study where people have proved that
there are more and more scientists that are coming on board with this kind of thinking, and I would suggest you look for Robert Lanza, and he's written 2 books. One is Biocentrism, and the other one is Beyond Biocentrism. Dr. Chopra, what's his name? He goes on, he's famous. My brain. Chopra.
Deepak Chopra?
Yeah, that's him. Yes, Chopra. Dr. Deepak Chopra has written a number of books that, with scientists, that talk about what I'm talking about, the science and how it comes right back to where we are. So, that it shows our spiritual reality. It's exciting. I love it. I just get so excited. I think, yes.
But also what I meant is they can't have had a study that proves that once you're dead, it's the end.
Yeah.
How do you, they can't, there's no evidence for that, but that's the hypothesis they put forward.
Yeah. No, there's no proof that, but you can't prove a negative.
Well, exactly.
There's no way Yes. So you can't, and so they're as right or wrong as we are right or wrong. We're both, until we've actually experienced it. Now, people who have had death experiences come back and said, hey, this is what happened to me. And we know, we have proof that they actually were dead. Their brain stopped. I know I'm running over time. Sorry. You're going to have to edit.
No, it's okay. We don't no time limit here. No.
Okay. There are people who have been dead for hours, and like 13, 14 hours. They wakened up in the morgue in a state of rigor mortis. And that takes 12 hours at least, 12 to 14. And so if these people have woken up, they've been dead for a long time.
Yeah,
and that cannot be
yoga.
Breaking down at the brain. It can't be the chemicals. It can't be, just an hallucination unless they've had Whopper. Yeah, so to me, those long time experiences, I think, need to be researched much more. Yeah.
But it's like, I've never been to Japan, but I accept lots of people who've been to Japan and they tell me it exists. And so I accept it, I just don't understand why people don't accept, your work and all this evidence just because they haven't experienced it. It's just very closed-minded, really.
Well, I guess it depends on where they're coming from in their own existence, in their own past, and things like that.
Okay. Well, I have to condense all this down into a song here. So I just want to see if there's a particular angle that for the song about the Lynn Russell experience and what I'm getting from you and from your book is this oneness.
Yes.
Maybe you could talk a bit more about that to just to fill me up, top me up the last little bit of inspiration.
Sure. Well, people think that oneness. I mean, we're hearing oneness all over the place, and people think that oneness means that we're equal, or that we're almost the same, or that we're a part of, but we're not. There is only one soul, one spirit. That's all there is the one spirit. And we are a part, or actually we are it. And we are creating this experience that we are having for ourselves. So as a source, so that we can live and grow and be more than we are. And we only know about this dimension, but there are multiple dimensions, multiple worlds in each dimension, and multiple life forms. And so, it just goes on and on and on. But this is a learning experience that we are giving ourselves as source. And so that's what the oneness is.
And so everyone else is giving themselves the same lesson.
Yeah, we all are. Every one of us. We're all the same source. We're all experiencing, and we're all creating, and we're doing it simultaneously.
Okay. Well, it's just the English language is such a very poor.
I agree.
At this.
Yeah. And one of the things that people will say when they're talking about this, they'll say it's so hard to explain because we're talking of the spirit, of the soul, and there are no languages for that. All we have is the human language.
So it's telepathy on the other realms, isn't it? That we don't use language. So when
that's right. Now it's all telepathy, and it's instant. We instantly talk to each other, and the communication will.
As pictures, not as words, as images.
Oh yeah, complete knowledge. Each concept is bang, all of it.
Oh gosh. Wow. That would be it would make podcasts a lot easier if it would be over and very quickly, the podcast, and if we could just communicate telepathically in images.
It would make the world a lot more peaceful too.
Well, I guess we've got that to look forward to. We're all evolving, so that's been beautiful. It's been beautiful chatting to you, Lynn, and so inspiring. And
Well, thank you. I was hoping that I would be able to offer something of value.
I also want to give a plug because I'm a member of the Ethereus Society. I don't know if you've heard of the Ethereus Society. It's it was started by Dr. George King. He was a Western master of yoga, and I try to plug that to all my guests because to try pick something of interest in the society. And when you're a member of the Ethereus Society, when you pass on, you get met by a guide who is much higher than the normal guides you're going to get. So it's a VIP treatment. So this could be of something of interest to you. I will send you the details of the society and the membership fee.
Yeah. Send it to me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Well, it's
all right. Thank you for the opportunity to share. That's wonderful.
No, it's wonderful to speak to you, and I'll get working on the song. And
okay.
I don't think I'll be able to reach as high cosmic states of user experience, so it's not going to be an amazing song, but hopefully I'll try and capture some of the energy that you've given off.
May I just ask your audience to go to lynnrussell.com. That's all they need, and they'll find my website, and there's tons of information there.
Wonderful. I'll put everything in the show notes along with a link to your Amazon page, and I'll make sure everybody writes a review of this book.
All right, thank you very much. I don't know what happened to the 10 that were there, but that's all right.
They're in the Akashic Records, don't worry.
Okay, nice to talk to you, and I'll send you that other stuff.
All right, lovely chatting to you, Lynn.
Okay, bye-bye.
Speeding through tunnels to loved ones who died, connecting with past lives and meeting with guides. Beautiful gardens, lands to behold, fantastic palaces of crystal and gold, floating in blackness, a velvet embrace, heavenly music just drifting through space. Wherever you go, there's the light. We are all one, children of the sun. We are all one, going back to where it began, the wonder of one, quantum consciousness. Take on a form, whatever you feel. Talk through telepathy, everything is real. Travel in an instant across time and space, without disabilities you've had in this place. Love, it embraces a physical thing, lifting you free like a coil on a spring. Wherever you go, there's the light. We are all one, children of the sun. We are all one, going back to where it began, the wonder of one, quantum consciousness. There's no need to strive to be closer to spirit. Effort takes you further away. Silence is reality, connect with the source. You're already all that you see. We are all one, children of the sun. We are all one. Children of the sun, we are all one. Going back to where it began.
Thank you to Maurizio Sarnicola and Massimino Vozza for working with me on the music, and Dori Verbo, my researcher. And thank you to you for listening. Please rate and review the podcast if you enjoyed it. If you like the song and want to support us, then you can download it for $1 on our website at podsongs.com. It's also available on all the major music streaming services. Thanks again.